So I have a special connection to this parsha. You guys read so beautifully and did so many parts. Is that Achremot Kedoshim? When it was my turn, it was a double portion. Achremot Kedoshim was my bar mitzvah portion. And so I have a special connection. Last year it was an anniversary. I mean, like a zero anniversary. Been a few years. I know, hard to believe, but it was last year. It was 40 years since my bar mitzvah, and so I read the Haftarah at the early minyan, and it was a wonderful experience. And actually, we had the same tutor, so it was good. That I've actually have a picture in my office from my bar mitzvah. It's not black and white sepia. It's not, come on. Like one of those pictures that you're dressed up like at the beach when you're like the old cowboy. It was not that. But it is me, my dad, my grandfather, and my great-grandfather all together. So I keep that right in my office, and it reminds me of what a special moment that is. My son is named for my grandfather, and it's just a really great connection. I also have another piece in my office that I brought here that's important to me. It's a prayer book, and at the front of it is imprinted Robert Gene Harris. Inside, it says, to Robert Gene Harris from Temple, Israel, on his bar mitzvah, April 21st, 1956. This is what his synagogue gave to my dad for his bar mitzvah in 1956. So, and of course, this is my dad's name, and maybe it was the rabbi that had very nice penmanship, or it was someone else who had very nice penmanship. But it's something that's very special that I have. But why am I sharing this, other than it's just a nice story to share? Well, maybe I should stop now. No, tomorrow night is the beginning of Yom HaShoah. Tomorrow night is the beginning of Yom HaShoah. And I've been reflecting on how this commemoration remains relevant today. Yom HaShoah is the commemoration of the Holocaust. And it is especially important as accusations are occurring daily in relation to the war against Hamas on campuses and encampments and social media, that I think that it's important that we talk about this, accusations of genocide, of Jews participating in protests of being capos, of Israelis as Nazis, Gaza as a concentration camp, and more you can add to the list about how the imagery of the Holocaust is misapplied to what is going on in this war. And I don't understand. I want to take a step back for a moment this morning and to pause to understand this moment a bit, that we're in a moment together beyond, after October 7th, and the response to October 7th. Why are campuses being shut down? Because it's not about the Palestinians alone. I think that people will write articles, kind of sociological, cultural articles about what has led us to this moment. So a few thoughts. One is that to those that are in the midst of these protests, that I hear your pain and trauma. I hear what is bringing you out. I hear what is causing you to build barricades to truly feel traumatized. The police response has traumatized people who see themselves as victims, and after all, you have lived through and grown up during these high-profile experiences of Tyree Nichols, who was killed by police in Memphis, right? Or George Floyd in 2020, or Breonna Taylor in 2020, right? That your assumption of what the police is going to do is informed by these experiences. And so when you build barricades and they tear down the barricades, you are triggered to respond in that way, that you are actually the victims you express. Even though you have been asked to leave, you've been told what you're doing is unlawful, all of these different things, right? So we have people missing basic communication. Despite warnings to leave encampments, you were energized by ideals of civil disobedience and a sense of entitlement towards a righteous cause. It is traumatic because there are actual, tangible consequences to what you're deciding to do. So I hear that this is upsetting, and I hope that I do not sound deprecating in any way. I'm trying to understand what is motivating you to stop your studies and to participate in this. There are many ways to advocate. And this is one way to advocate, but there are many ways to advocate. And you've chosen an avenue that I never did, but maybe you have more courage than me. I don't know. Maybe more courage to face the consequences of your actions. But there are consequences. But you do not get to complain that you need humanitarian aid because you chose to lock yourself in an administrative building without planning. Even using the term does not bring you closer to the cause of hungry Palestinians for asking for gluten-free, vegan, nut-free, BDS-supporting food. It makes me feel your position of privilege more, and not that you are actually hungry. Certainly not humanitarian aid as understood by starving people in Sudan, where there's 1.7 million people at emergency levels of hunger, according to the World Food Program, that you are not equivalent to that. Or the World Food Program is worried about Mozambique and West Africa, but not humanitarian aid in Hamilton Hall last week. I want to learn why Gaza and not Syria, where the government has killed over 600,000 of its own citizens, 13 million have been displaced the past year, and I don't hear you taking up those causes. What about Gaza has activated you, but Ukraine has not? About 180,000 Russians have died and over 30,000 Ukrainians. So truly, I am curious. A second is, you have taught me that words matter. That you have taught me this. You have taught me that pronouns matter, and I work really hard at selecting the right word. I've had a congregant leave the synagogue because I share my pronouns on my email signature. And that was very upsetting to them. And we've had many conversations, and he decided to leave the congregation because I wanted to stand with those that this really matters to. And of course, my own children are vigilant with me. That you have taught me to recognize that honoring the land where we sit is not about title, but to honor the indigenous people before us. You have taught me that Bethesda is on the land previously part of the Piscataway and Anacostan people's land. So when you say from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, I believe you know what you are saying. When you chant Intifada, I believe you. That you are precise, you are well-educated, you are intentional. People want to say that you don't know what you're saying, that a frontal cortex isn't developed yet. They want to create excuses for you, but you have taught me you do not want excuses, that you know what you are doing. So when I hear that there is no space for a Jewish nation, when I hear not about compromise or coexistence, but that you want to make the region from our history Judenfrei, cleansed of Jews, I believe you that that is what you want, or at least that is who you are aligning yourself with. When you use Nazi symbolism, when you partner with others who promote Jew hatred, when you display the Hamas flag or the ISIS flag, it scares me. I'm not willing to write you off as a youthful kid. You don't want to be written off. You don't deserve that. You want to be taken seriously. And so I am taking you seriously. You have taught me. And 3, often cited, though I don't know who the original source is, that history rarely repeats itself, but it echoes. And I don't know the original source of that, but Jews are in a precarious place. White Christian nationalists undermine our place in America. The political left and right traffic in anti-Semitic language and Jew hatred. Israel's legitimacy is under attack, as well as its physical existence from Hamas and Hezbollah and Iran and more. It is a hard time to be Jewish right now. And yet, I choose to find hope. That even at this difficult time, I know we will find our way forward. It is hidden in plain sight of the Parsha. Moses' nephew, Aaron's sons, have just died. That's the Achrei Mot, after the death. It is Moses' nephews, Aaron's sons, who have died. The Torah offers us quiet. It offers us quiet as a response. Not words of consolation, but actually the response to the trauma that Aaron and Moses felt was quiet. And sometimes that is required to recover from the trauma, the fear, the anxiety. The Parsha is named Achrei Mot, after the death. And we will begin this afternoon with reading Kedoshim, holiness. After death, after trauma, after fear, we will rediscover holiness and connection and community. I don't know what that's going to look like. I don't know what it will be like to try to repair the ruptures that have happened within the Jewish community, amongst the diaspora and Israel, amongst the communities whom we marched in allyship with, but now feel so distant from. That we will persevere because that is also an echo of who we are as the Jewish people. We must listen to what prompted these encampments to pop up. While there are absolutely outside instigators that are using this moment for their own interests, there also is something that we can learn from youthful Jews and not so youthful Jews who are out sleeping in these places, that are advocating, choosing this way of advocacy. There's a lot that we need to listen to. It is more than just the issue of the Palestinians that is prompting the community to respond like this. Many people are connecting with their Judaism in different ways, and we need to listen. We need to explore the periodic tensions between universalism and particularism. What does it mean to be a Jewish citizen of the world? And also, what does it mean to be Jewish? Universalism and particularism. And we need to push hate back to the margins. We have allowed hate language to be normalized in our politics and our Twitter feeds and social media. We just accept it as if we don't have anything to do with it. And that is unacceptable, that we have to push back. So I looked at my dad's Siddur, at his prayer book, for a prayer for Yom HaShoah. I realized it was printed in 1940, though. It was the year that Auschwitz was established. The prayer book didn't know of the Holocaust, Yet though by the time of my dad's bar mitzvah in 1956, the world certainly did. We cannot go back to the time before the Shoah. And I don't think that we can go backwards to a time before October 7th. I wonder what they will do in the encampments tomorrow night as Yom HaShoah begins. Will they light a memorial candle? I know that they are aligning themselves with some that will see Yom HaShoah as a celebration for incomplete work. We need to make sure, though, that what is echoed in our world brings kedoshim, holiness, and shalom, peace, and shlemut, unity and completeness into this world. Shabbat shalom.